Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got a very interesting show for you. All right, let's pull up the screen on this one. Yep, the 2024 schedule has finally been announced by one Greg Sankey and the crew, and I think everybody's going to be ready to hit the ground running in 2024 with this new schedule. We've got Oklahoma and Texas added to the SEC, and everybody gets to play at least one of them. So let's get into this. So here's our 2024 schedule. We've and we don't know the dates or anything. We just know we're definitely playing these 8 teams. At home, we've got Alabama, Florida, Kentucky, and Mississippi State. And away, we've got Arkansas, Georgia, Oklahoma, and Vanderbilt. And if we look at the two schedules, you can see this is what I thought it was going to be. Alabama, which is the same, Kentucky, Ole Miss, Vanderbilt, Oklahoma, Mississippi State, and Florida. So I had 6 of the 8 correct. The 2 I did not get correct. I had Auburn for Georgia, and I had Ole Miss for Arkansas. So I would have preferred this schedule. Now realize I got killed over this schedule. A lot of you viewers wore me out.
Now Kane!
So yeah, I got worn out over this schedule, although it's almost identical to what we got.
Identical.
The only difference is we got Arkansas instead of Auburn, and we got Georgia instead of Ole Miss, which I think is a huge opportunity missed. I wanted to play Ole Miss so bad, and that would have been, the viewership on that would have been 10 million people watching. But the truth is the Georgia game will have the same thing, especially if we're ranked number 1 or number 2, which could happen. Realize we'll have Nico. He'll be a second-year guy, and our defense will have yet another year of building. So that could very much be a 1 versus 2 or 1 versus 3 type situation, and I'm sure they took that into consideration. But they could have swapped it for Arkansas, and we could have played Ole Miss. That would have it's just a missed opportunity. Lane's probably upset about it too, because if there's one thing we know about Kiffin, he doesn't care about what kind of attention he gets as long as it's attention. Kind of like a brat kid. So anyway, this is the schedule we got. Again, the only team other than Auburn that has to play Alabama and Georgia, the top 2 teams over the last 10 years. So they wanted to keep that going, which is fine, whatever. But overall, I like this schedule. I really like we kept Florida. I think that was very important. I think keeping Kentucky was important. The fact that South Carolina is not in this tells you Kentucky's going to be our permanent opponent if we go to 9 games. I really thought they were going to stick us with South Carolina, which is not really that big a rivalry. Yeah, we had the big game last year, but that was it. Normally, it's not that big a deal. Kentucky's a bigger deal, and we've played them a lot longer. So it looks to me like it's going to be the permanent opponents will be Alabama, Vanderbilt, and Kentucky almost certainly. We know that based on this schedule. And again, Mississippi State, that's fine. You know, at least we got one of the Mississippi schools. Arkansas, that's interesting, you know, playing them at, Fayetteville. Georgia at Georgia, that's, man, we've already played there. We know how tough that's going to be. Oklahoma, I'm really looking forward to that game. That should be fun, and that's going to be at Norman. And then, of course, Vandy. We always play Vandy. So after I looked at this schedule, I thought about it. You know what? Still having the top 2 teams against us. Then I thought, let's just do this.
All right, Lunger. Let's do it. Say when.
Exactly. Say when. We'll be there. So I think the 2024 is exciting. I will also say this. Oklahoma and Texas, y'all are in for a rude awakening coming into the SEC. They're not going to have those easy wins like they were used to in the Big 12. It's going to be very difficult. And it was, 9-5 was the vote is what we understood. And I think Oklahoma and Texas are saying they would vote for the 9 game. We'll see how they feel after 2024 when they get kicked around real good, because I'm going to tell you what, they're in for it. A very rude awakening. So we'll see how they vote after that. I'll tell you what, if ESPN doesn't come up with that big money, which they may or may not, they're in a bit of a dire straits over there financially. So we'll see. We may be doing an 8-game schedule for a while. This is still a brutally tough schedule for every single team, and I'm going to cover some of the other teams because some of them are hilarious who they're going to have to play. But anyway, and hey, I do want to remind you, tonight at 7 p.m., I will be on Talkin' Vols with Boogie Bentley. at, again, 7 p.m. Be sure to check that out. We're going to talk all about the Vols. I'm sure we'll talk about this schedule. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff, I'm sure. So 7 p.m. tonight on Talking Vols. If you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Let's be able to continue to cover the Vols and all that good stuff. And by the way, I know I put "let's do this" on the thumbnail, and even though the quote's "let's do it," but I didn't like the way it looked. So don't freak out on me, Tombstone fans. I'm one too. I know it wasn't perfect, so don't freak out on me. Anyway, hit that subscribe button on your right, my left. Just boom, that's all you got to do. And right over here's my most recent video. Be sure to check that one out. And we'll see you next time on Sports Talk J.